Good evening, and thank you all for coming this evening, which is a very special evening for all of us here at Prakriti Foundation. Sivakami ma'am, as we call her, is a very dear friend, aider and abettor of poetry in the city. She is very widely known amongst the poetry circle, and her works over the years have featured in magazines such as the Asia Literary Review, the Little Magazine, Vayavya, Indian Literature, and in several Indian and international anthologies. Recently, her work has also been featured in the edited version of the Penguin Book of Indian Poets. She is the founder, member, and co-curator of the Quarantine Trade, an online writing collective that was started during the pandemic. Very often, many younger poets refer to her as the poetry auntie of Chennai. She's been a huge support to the Prakriti Poetry Festival over the last 12 years and continues to be, picking up, dropping poets, whether it's rain or shine. If nobody's there, Sivakami ma'am will be there. And that has been a huge emotional and moral support to all of us at Prakriti. So I think that deserves definitely a round of applause. Her daughter Abhirami continues the tradition, and this book, How We Measure Time, is just an astounding piece of work of memoir, nostalgia. I mean, she's the poet, so I don't want to put words into it, but copies are available, and after this evening, please do buy a copy and get it authored by her. So all I want to say from the bottom of my heart is thank you very much, Sivakami ma'am, for being there for us and for poetry. This evening, we're going to hear some of the poems, and then Sivakami ma'am is going to be in conversation with Dr. Prabakar, another great supporter and poet. Thank you all for coming. Make sure you all get a copy. Or you can't leave.
I would like to present a book to my wife. And I tell her like this. Straight into the poems. Indrani is an old friend of mine. She's a theatre person. And she read the first to read my poem, Appa at the British Council.
Yes, of course I do, Sivakami. We go back many, many years from the poetry circle at the British Council. Although I'm an admirer of poets and poetry, not a poet at all by any stretch. Thank you, sir. Mother, you garlanded the local stone lingam with white flowers of the Hansalata, with a swish of your hips and a tune of seagulls at your feet. You wore such pretty anklets, Mother. 3 weeks after I first breathed, Grandmother tells me, Mother, you tried scaring the blacklings off my skin using bleaching soda, steam, and gin. But thanks to the Black Kali, the ever-present goddess of our ancestors, Lord Muruga entered your bloodstream. Instantly, you climbed a tree and made me sip toddy. Mother, you got whipped with borrowed belts of uncles for bowling pillows through neighbors' windows, stealing barfis, uprooting sapota trees, honking parked bale lorries. You taught me everything except colors. The silver-gray waterfall curtaining my left and right eyes were marbles. Guessing was an ever-thrilling game, Mother. We lived our own phobias. To me, all ropes were snakes. To you, all men were creatures on legs with steel buckles for fingers. Yet, Panchali, our cat, was somehow different. Page 26. My first smocked chemise. In the cloister, the sisters stitched their secret. Through pigeonholes, we watched their thimbles, wondering if it was a pair, peacock or pushcart. Pastel shades of nylon baby gowns with smocked busts and baby frills alternated with colored embroidery. Each stitch equally spaced with computer's precision. The sisters of Cluny and a handiwork of art handed over through generations, overseeing the minute fabrication, mannequins dressed up as angels, the ancient grey structures of Pondicherry and the feast of all those saints, most of all the charity sale, when my family indulged in clothes from the nunnery of Most of all, the charity sale, when my family indulged in clothes from the nunnery of Christ brides, the white froth of the sea, the washed-out hue of bright colors, concocted to match a mingle of waves rising like the dust of mud roads, padded necks patterned with curves and angles, lining of soft linen and tiny loops for buttons, like the eyes of birds. On the kitchen shelf, I see my childhood photo. White frock and red rose. Black frock and white rose. A toothless smile. And remember, Mother, who must have requested the photographer to tarry a little, then hurried to the garden to picture pick those flowers. Page 38, Moon Mischief. About this time, Amma's tryst with the moon relapsed. I left my cot in the corner to lie with her. It all happened through the large bedroom window. The moon did have a face. "Do not think you are the firstborn," she said. A baby boy died before he was born. There was no anesthesia those days. Dr. Varkey came home. It was all because your grandmother would not have a pregnant bride. There are no words for such pain. I thought, what a waste of a brother. He could have taken me to the movies, like all my friends' brothers. That's Sivakami for you. The treasured photograph, page, the very next page, 39. There was a photo of Dad kissing Amma, full on the mouth, like in English movies, shot by Dad himself. Amma had told me about this also, but the Tamils are a conservative people. The terrace of the Madras house under the evening sky, Amma in a pastel chiffon half sari before marriage, Dad chasing her with his Western attitude. This photo had gone into their slide box, he with his movie projector and his collection of black and white scenery. Though I had seen this photo as a child, I still thought one needed to get married to have a baby. Thank you.
Page 9. A day unlike any other day. A siren announced an unlikely event. Locals charged forward with bale packing poles into private property to converge at the glass-edged compound wall. A Kerala elephant hunt. Kichan, gasping, tripped over the clothesline. Das, the driver, skimpy in his slack underwear, blew a funny horn before moving on. Tilak's, my adolescent aunt, her twin lotus buds scratching her long blouse, voiced, Akka, Akka, like calling to crows on a new moon noon. A balanced yolk on a spoon, downed it in a single gulp, sauntered via the breach through the vineyards to fields of paddy waves where Amma frolicked with water snakes or did a dance for Shiva, sensuously hidden in hoods of flowers, singing, Dear parrot, prepared to do that which I ask you to, willing to place cheek against cheek, to plant a kiss, chasten memento. She clung on to me, mud feet splotching forward. We sauntered, sagged on chunks of feckless mud, while a lone wolf craned up its nose, past an abandon of sapota trees, and returned sideways through stacks of hay. Caparisoned elephants. The Glass Boat, page 17. Afternoons, Amma led me to the summer house, a circular building with a conical thatch hat. She had a glass board replete with letters and numbers and one rupee coin with secrecies of sensuous mumbling, the coin dervished. She tweaked the ears of those spirits. I saw the squares glow with firefly lights. She held my palm to their tail flicks. There's NMK Chandru, Mother Rose. I hated this board. She screwed up pranks, intruders. A child needed an archway if a rainbow happened. Amma often gave a commentary. Uncle asked for jackfruit payasam. Chandru was a comet. Saw him dancing with his crutches. Mother Rose had a tired crown of American diamonds. The cooked rice she ate looked like psychedelic worms. Father's face, a demon's fright. The sting, fiery red spirits that scurried resembled reptiles. Page 18. So on full moon days and new moon days. At the Bharati Mill House in Pondicherry, my mother used to lure me to the balcony with a board which had ABC and 1, 2, 3. The 1 rupee coin moved quickly as she loaded it with questions. Sometimes she placed my little finger under hers and posed this question: could we or could we not go over vaulting to transcend the splintered glass-studded compound wall at the hour of my half-boiled egg? We swore ourselves to secrecy in the daylight, pretending to forget frog croaks from the no-see world which she told me was real. We sent them back to their kingdoms imagining, or at least I imagined, they were seated at different levels in chairs with gold or silver lining. Mornings, we spoke about this and that, the Tamil alphabet, the natural way of saying, pretending there was nothing all that weird. We collected seashells, the grotesque ones, because those deserved her care and affection. She bartered them all for local toddy. By now, I knew how not to choke on cigarettes. I pitied the poor man who came to collect shit because in my innocence, I thought they were damned. We also looked at the sun reflecting light from a diamond ring. It was the same as the prism spilling rainbow from broken glass shards on the compound wall. I thought all mothers played with their children, so it was all right to command her to do something like plucking the swan-like flower, which was pearl gray or off-white with a pink beak. On new moon days and full moon days, we did not go to Cluny, the dressmaker and his BB, and Usha Miss, who taught me intuition with a blackboard and a white cat drawing. Page 21. The great solar eclipse. 100 years the sky again longed to devour the sun. Me in my mother's womb still unprotruding, her mother away to nurse her mother-in-law. As the drama in the sky unfolded, it scattered gases and poisonous ions, while a rascal uncle focused on the drama through a potent telescope. Pregnant women stayed in dark rooms, not exposing even their little toe. So why would mother have to gaze at a sun devoid of fire, a cataract clouding the eyes of her unborn child? I exited the womb eyeless in Madras.
It's a pleasure to be reading Sivakami's work. I have been reading her work for the past 25 years. And it is a matter of great pride that I am here on this esteemed occasion when I'm able to read her books from her book. So I shall begin. Page 13. I remained her shadow. At the hour of the half-boiled egg, she taught me the Tamil alphabet as we ran our separate ways to different palm trees to kindle the soil for snakeskin jackets. She taught me to identify serpents by the design of their costume. So we were naturals, collecting labels on box matches or stamps and coins, unimaginable hobbies. At noon, we played hopscotch with a quarter of the moon thrown like a slab of silver slate. And I kept going to the storehouse for more chalk to draw those box squares on the tar road. At dusk, she was taken to the old glass bungalow for her medicinal bath. I tagged along, bored by the drip drop of warm oil that met her center head from a dhara, like cocaine or local anesthesia. I remained her shadow, not at all mesmerized by that Malayalam chanting invoking Shiva, sometimes Durga. Page 49. The two windows of my room. A shock of hibiscus buds swayed outside the rectangular window, leaning on the inner side of the compound wall. Directly on the soil below, land lilies threw out their pink horns, facing the sunlight. Crossing the street with the eyes, I saw two brothers stand on a grinding stone, never at the same time, and the mother who watched what her sons were eyeing. On the other side was the square window outside, which 10 and 4 o'clock flowers bloomed. There was so much beauty, you knew something would come flying into the room and shatter its blood on the writing table, like that parrot, a disarray of green feathers. Page 36, Sister Valeria. And so she made me stay with her for 2 years, teaching me how to look at and for objects. The hastily perceived precision, like the focusing of a lens. Wavering lights became static, liquids, solid. Valeria was my looking glass, my pair of German lenses, both convex and concave. She showed me depth of a field. I saw the Grotto Mary plus the infant. Then Valeria, Valeria, Valeria. She made me do Satan, elevating my acting prowess. My friends called her Velrika, meaning cucumber. Divide with a bread knife, give away a bite of chocolate to the sweeper woman's daughter. I learned to keep a pocket notebook for variant spellings and a small box for eating Trepton biscuits. In short, she made the angels of the holy angels come true. She made me forgive Adelaide and Berthala sisters who always wanted to see my appa. And the last one, which is the title of the book, How We Measured Time. We measured time with the lunar calendar, a fortnight, the waxing moon, the waning moon. My literature books lay piled upon the table, and brother's school final flopped. We watched her health improve or decline. The moon and her mind took a walk like the earth. Even the waves of the sea conspired. We were eyewitnesses. The usual things lost their significance. Our priorities shaped themselves. We were all in league. Thank you.
Page 15. Only once, when I fractured my arm, did Grandpa lift me to the coastline of his shoulders. I touched his beard, gentle as a child would a colorless cotton candy. Watchful like tree dogs, long-tailed on each half-tapped palm, the palm tappers strutted like acrobats, their loincloth moving mysteriously to hide that which I could not see well. Polluted with worm words, the filth as the breath of a mensurating woman would wilt tulsi leaves, grandmother's pickles, virgins squatted underneath the peopled shade of the village temple. Aunt's slippers changed from the wooden racks to showcases like a child stuffing stainless steel utensils from a play stool into a palm leaf basket. Jealous of her cousin as a country mouse, the city mouse, she hovered with a new bicycle. My house used clothes of ribbed cotton paler than the uniform of mill workers. Stoked up in graphics, the dyes that took us away from the doorstep where we sat. Yeah. And one more poem, The Mongoose and the Marina Beach. Sundays, the extended family went to the beach. Punch Dog was the first to go for the double-deckered airplane kites. Not for me, sand pies and sand castles. Further away, green battery eyes flickered. A hawker sold plastic mongoose at dusk. Kiri, Kiri, Kiri Pillai. They got it for me, nevertheless. Now, I became familiar with 3 mongoose. The natural mongoose that crisscrossed the snake's day, the plastic mongoose that sprung on batteries, and a third mongoose, and the third one with a halo of fire that had run thrice around me when I was a baby. Grandma had to shoo it away with the stick end of a palm leaf. One final poem, an epilogue of sorts. Amma wanted the hierarchy to end. She swallowed the crushed diamonds, but death came slowly, very slowly. Okay. So I now invite Dr. Prabakar to have this conversation with me.
So wonderful, Shivakami.
Thank you.
So it's just so wonderful, Shivakami.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to read some of the praise that you had received, if I may. Is John Drew, who says, the poet has captured a rural Tamil childhood in perfectly rendered English. No wasted words, every line honed, each vignette falling just so good to read. And Sudeep Sen says, time for her is unhurried, to be savored in small doses until its inherent accretion leads to something larger, something more substantial. And Srilata, who's with us, this is lovely, calls her a witness walking the firewalk of autobiography with panache, which is a beautiful, beautiful phrase. It is indeed a biography in poetry, a memoir, as Ranveer said, in poetry, and the subject of it, of course, is your beautiful and enigmatic mother. Just before we started with the questions, I just wanted to ask you to talk a little about your relationship with your mother.
My mother was a very pretty, intelligent, and woman, and we were more like playmates. We were more like playmates, and then it was a kind of idyllic life, and I didn't know that other mothers were not like this. So my childhood is very much treasured. We had a wonderful time. There was pain also, but I have no regrets. That childhood is to be treasured.
That's very, very clear. Very clear. Beautifully said. For my next questions, Shivakami, I'd actually like to go into the flesh of your poems. And there are corners of your poems which are so startling, and there's so much freshness there. And I'd like to focus on some of those and generate the questions, if you don't mind. I wanted to start with a poem called Visiting. And I'd like to draw attention to 2 places. The houses sit the way they were, concubines. That is a very startling phrase, you know. The houses sit the way they were, concubines. And the beautiful end of the poem, I search for the doorsteps where we sat, shoes left carelessly outside. And I just thought the adjectival clause, shoes left carelessly outside, could describe the doorsteps, but could also describe the children, shoes left carelessly outside. That ambiguity is fabulous. Could you tell us a little about this poem?
Yes, yes. The mill was on one side from the entrance to the compound, and all the mill houses was on the other side. So it was, there are 3 or 4 houses, the manager's house, the mill house, the bungalow, the glass bungalow, the many-colored glass bungalow. So that is more private. And the mill also sounded masculine. Maybe that is where the image of the concubines comes in. And what is it? Like shoes left carelessly. Carelessly. We belonged more. We enjoyed more in the outside of the house than the inside. The outside of the house was more familiar to us, like the compound wall, the paddy fields, the beach, the orchard, and so maybe that line comes from there. Like shoes left outside on the threshold.
Lovely. There's a similar phrase in Bharati Mill, Pondicherry, one of your poems, where you say, no snake could enter that wasn't already within the compound. And I thought that was a rather troubling phrase, from childhood. And I wondered whether that was a specific reference to some kind of act of treachery or something that you had experienced.
That is not a metaphor. That is actually, there was so much of open space. And there was this orchard and this paddy fields. There were plenty of snakes within the compound. And elsewhere in a poem, I also talk about collecting snakeskin jackets, mother and me collecting snakeskin jackets as hobbies. So I just wrote it that no snake could come in that was not already in the... And grandfather, I have memories of grandfather hitting snakes in the afternoon with long bamboo poles. So maybe the phrase just comes, it doesn't have any... And a child can't think of people like snakes, Though in another poem I talk about my aunt's anger rising like the ash from a snake-filled tablet. That because I did not like that aunt. So I thought this anger was, So I thought this anger was like that, that I didn't like that ash also from that snake-filled tablet. We were more into live crackers. And I compared that for that poem. That image just came along.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. I want to go on to everyone's favorite poem, Mother, which was read out so beautifully.
By Indrani, yes.
Yes, by Indrani. So 3 places in the poem that I want to focus on. One is, Lord Muruga entered your bloodstream. Instantly you climbed the tree and made me sip toddy. Mother, you got whipped with the borrowed belts of uncles, bowling pillows through neighbors' windows. A very painful line. And then, you taught me everything except colors, the silver grey waterfall curtaining my left and right eyes were marbles. I thought that was wonderful, the fact that you used waterfall for cataract, thereby, the etymology of the word cataract and its provenance is brought out beautifully. But even more so for those of us who played with marbles, to use marbles as a simile for cataract, something creamy or near solid but unattainable through the glass. It's such an apt metaphor for cataract, and it was so compelling to me. And I wanted you to talk about this gorgeous poem, which has so much richness to it.
Yes, Mother is also my favorite poem because I wrote it sometime in 1977, I think. So there's a lot of pain in the poem. There's a lot of pain, and Amma used to go into these bouts of mental illness. And before that, she would slink away to the orchard, and all that about the climbing the toddy tree, all that was there, There was a pain, and for a girl, for a child to witness all that, it had to be noted down like that. Lot of pain, but the uncles. Then what was the second question?
Oh no, I was just talking about your.
Yes,
the
cataract, that is there. Before that, okay. They at that time they did not know how to deal with this mental illness, so there was no treatment as such, and I think my poor uncle didn't know how to manage her, and maybe that was why that. But the image stayed in my mind. That was the reference to the borrowed bells of uncle's bells, with steel buckles for fingers. They didn't know how to manage mental illness at that time. And marbles, of course, I was born with congenital cataract. And I did not, I was born with congenital, I was born with congenital cataract, and I didn't know it. I thought everybody could see only as much as I could see. How will I know that others are seeing better? And so I used to have strange visions, like if I saw a lamppost, I used to think it was a ghost, or the letter C would look like a chalk cat. I didn't know till and nobody knew, because my mother also was the same mental level as I was. So there was no one to either, and we were not, and a woman in her maternal house, after she is married, she has no place there. She is not treated well. They don't consider her. They consider her as baggage. And there was nobody until my father came and took us away to Trivandrum. And he was the one who discovered that there was something wrong with my eyes, that I had congenital cataract, and there was a wonderful doctor there who had it needled out. It was called needlings. But so that is why I had to stay in Valeria's class for 2 years, because there was Hindi and I didn't know the Hindi script. But all that, there was so much fun. I never thought of it as a difficult part. I had a wonderful childhood. There's no doubt about that.
When you speak about the pain, would you say that the poems are a way of working through the pain?
The pain?
Yes, there was a lot of pain for me.
Yes, definitely. Once you write it down, it's more cathartic. It's more cathartic, this book. How it got written, I started writing this for a RISE group, for a marathon, and we wrote 30 poems. I just showed it away and started posting it in a group called Soul Flash. And there was one Donald Nigley who said, there's a story that comes, there's a South Indian story in it. The South Indian ethos is there, and there's a story, so you work on it to get the story. And when I look back, everything was in order, in the same order that I had written. So I was dealing with it day by day, so I had written incidents also day by day, and so it could form. But I didn't know, the thing is, I didn't know whether it was poetry or prose. So I kept it for 13 years or 14 years, just like that, until posted on Soul Flash, and Arjun Rajendran said, why don't we have this edited and you show me the whole work, the manuscript. That is how it went out to Paperwala. I had my doubts. I didn't know if it was, I thought it was just prose. I didn't know if it was poetry or prose.
So much better than writing poems and then having it called prose. But actually, I mean, I think the whole idea of this has been endlessly debated, I think. But I'd like to hear from the audience once I've finished my questions. This whole, what you could call the transmutation of lead into gold, in the sense of the artist suffering, becoming art. Whether it is poetry or whether it is, Sivakami working through her pain and creating these beautiful poems. I mean, it's really a subject worthy of discussion, I think. I'd like to bring my focus on one of your richest poems, A Day Unlike Any Other. Just the images, I balanced yoke on a spoon. I mean, that's a priceless image. I balanced yoke on a spoon in fields of paddy waves where Amma frolicked with the water snakes or did a dance for Shiva, sensuously hidden in the hoods of flowers, singing. And again, sensuously hidden in the hoods of flowers, singing, could be Amma or it could be Shiva himself. So it's you know, that ambiguity again which you achieve. And then this lovely, this really, really tasty phrase, you know, we sauntered, sagged on chunks of feckless mud. I mean, that is just so delicious. We sauntered, sagged on chunks of feckless mud. Two things I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you to talk about, you know, your process, but also how you have such ease of access to the images of childhood. I think, you know, there's so much conviction. It's so convincing, the images that you bring from your childhood, so fresh. What is your secret? How come the rest of us don't have such access to our childhood like you do?
No, it's not like. So my mother had these bouts of mental illness, and before these bouts of this came along, she would like to go. She always went away to the orchard, to the paddy fields. That was breakfast time, and we had this breakfast half-boiled egg. I didn't like the egg, so my grandma used to put a drop of vanilla essence to it, and I would just gulp it down. And I would connect it to the sun, because the yolk of the egg and the sun looked the same. There was so much of hullabaloo, like people coming all the way from Madras to search for her. My aunt who came, the whole mill, all the workers would search. It was like a real elephant hunt. But I had my breakfast. I knew where she would be. I knew her haunts. So I took it very casually. After my breakfast, I would go into the orchard and bring her back. So it was as simple as that. The images are alive because we had a very simple life. And these images are very real images. We had a very simple and very contented life. In Trivandrum also, I went to school by horse cart. I would go up a cliff, over bridge, and shake away my shoes so it will fall in a canal. All this was to avoid school. So I would do all this. And these images are fresh. And because they are honest images, they stayed with me. There's no other thing I can attribute to it. Because they are fresh, and they are not like worked images, they are simple images that just stayed on. That's all.
I'm really glad you used that word, honesty, because that's how I feel when I read your poems. It just, you know, some of the people who've come into
and what really hurt was, nobody thought they should ask me where my mother was, because I was a child, and they didn't think it was important to ask a child. But they went about searching. This Tilaks would come, and she would say Akka Akka, and then they'll make a big drama of it, and she'll come. It is not like that. I just brought her back. Because I knew we were more like playmates, more like sisters. She was a very young mother, and she carried me around, showing me fun places. Always we were moving towards fun, and it was a very idyllic life. I don't think anybody would have enjoyed that kind of life, going to pre-KG and NKG, nothing for me. There was no LKG, pre-KG and all that. We just went to Clooney, and it's first standard. And there also, they didn't find out that I had some faulty vision. So it was like they sent me to tuition to the Usha miss. And I could see only cats there on the blackboard. Fact.
So,
Fact.
Yes.
That is there. Fact. And I tell this to my cousin sister. She'll say, "Nee nariya poi cholli irukedi." No. And I used to feel so happy that poi is my poetry. It's not that I'm writing the note as it happened. No, there was one place I say, when my mother was sick, we had to take her. I called for a helicopter. And then next poem I say, you know that I was lying. There's no helicopter those days. We just sent him by the care of the air hostess by flight to Coimbatore. My brother, when she had the second attack, when I was born, she had the first attack, and when my brother was born, she had the second. So we just gave my brother to my to the care hostess, and I said we sent him by helicopter. We called for a helicopter. That is a lie, but that is poetry. Yeah, poetic license.
That's your vision, to be able to see that.
And that also was I was a little mother. I was more like Florence Nightingale. I looked after my brother. That was also So that was a beautiful phase. Though I couldn't understand many of the things, like how her mind worked, but I suppose having undergone a lot of pain, that pain came back to her. That is why. Because you are a psychologist, you will know all that.
I'm fully aware of the facts, what are all you have said.
Okay.
I don't believe it.
Now you need nobody else to vouch for that now. You have your uncle saying it, no, it's the truth. You don't have to fight it anymore.
much of the book is about the treatment of women, about the treatment of the single woman, if you like. And I refer to the poem, the Turning Point, where your little cousin's cruelty kind of forces the two of you to leave Madras and go away to Kerala.
That's okay.
And one line in a poem called "We Belonged to Doorsteps," in itself, it's a very sad title, where you just quoted it yourself. The breath of a menstruating woman would wilt tulsi leaves. I wanted you to talk a little about your childhood encounters of the treatment of women, at that time.
No, that actually, my grandmother was a matriarch and she was very powerful. My aunt was flitting about from clubs, and she was a proper mill owner's wife. My mother and I, because a married woman has no place in her maternal house after her marriage, we had overstayed our welcome in her house. Maybe why that was the treatment that was given to her. It is very sad, but that is reality. And hence we spend most of the time on the threshold, on the doorsteps. And it led me to compare ourselves to the shoes left carelessly outside. That is why. But we didn't mind at all. In fact, the inside of the house was more dark and the outside was bright. That is.
I think.
I don't think I was. At that time to comment on the menstruating women, like these pickles and all. I just thought they were left outside, like the 7 virgins of the with these cloth, muslin cloth tied outside. Maybe that comparison would have come later. But as a child, I didn't form any opinion about hierarchy of women or anything. Women were very powerful. Only sad thing was, my mother did not belong there. That was a sad thing. And it is a sad state a woman is not over welcome in her maternal house if she overstays her. I think that is true even now.
Any house.
Any house.
Okay.
so true. And then, speaking of sociological themes, in the glass board, you have this line where you say, "I pitied the poo man who came to collect our shit, because in my innocence I thought they were damned." These lines are such a raw fist in the face, and I think that the stress should be on his, or they. In my innocence, I thought they were damned, because of course it's we who are damned. It's a damning indictment of society and of what we perpetrated and what we tolerated. But I wondered if you wanted to talk a little about your childhood experiences of the socially suppressed.
No, there was a lot of hierarchy in the mill. Of course, there were these managers and the mill workers and all that. But as a child, I didn't know that such an. I took it casually, like I didn't question anything. I just wrote it as it. I didn't make any comment or sociological comment about anything. I just wrote it as it was.
Obviously, as a child, I don't think that
we are not judgmental. We are not judgmental.
No. But I meant that in the writing of the poem, did you intend for there to be, were you reaching beyond your own personal experience to talk about society?
Yes. I wanted people to note that the poo man, the pariah man, whatever it is. I mean, we can't say it out now.
True. I'd like to draw your attention to two of the most astonishing phrases in your. All great poetry, is a little mad. The best example is Shakespeare, of course, but also anyone, even like Lorca. But there is an element of madness in the greatest poetry. These two phrases were so astonishing to me. And Jeewitz read out this phrase: "A child needed an archway if a rainbow happened." I didn't know how to meet this phrase. I didn't know how to parse it. It didn't matter that I couldn't parse it. It was just fabulous, And the other perfect phrase was, "I exited the womb eyeless in Madras." And that is priceless. That is absolutely priceless. And where do such phrases come from?
So I was born in a green room, a nondescript room, and nothing spectacular happened. And I just noted all that I had heard my relatives speak about it. And one dramatic entry was this, that I entered the room eyeless in Madras. So that is how I wanted the poem to end. Nothing spectacular about all that. And this archway, when the rainbow, that just came, that is all. I don't know how to talk about it.
Sivakami, you're still innocent and completely unassuming. It's for us to say if it's spectacular or not.
Thank you.
It's for those who read your poems, the adjectives are for us, But I'd like to end the set of questions, because I hope the audience has a lot of questions. But I'd like to talk about the concluding poems, especially the last one, and the line that you read, "But death came slowly, very slowly." I love the line break there, very line break, slowly.
Yeah, death came. It was very peaceful, and I like to think that she had a very peaceful end. She didn't want the hierarchy to go around, to continue the hierarchy of the diamonds. And it was a very peaceful end. I'd like to think of it. I have no regrets at all about my childhood or my life. Everything happened as it should have happened. There's no putting things back. I have no regrets at all. I think that's. Thank you so much. I think you have really inhabited the book and such. I would not have thought of such questions.
It was an absolute pleasure to inhabit the book.
Any questions from
Yes,
the
please.
audience? We will.
The audience, any discussion, any questions, please? Yes, sir, please.
I want to know in what way writing poems helped you? In what way writing poems helped you?
Yeah, writing poems helped me. It was cathartic. I do it every day. I don't like cutting or peeling onions, so I think of something else. It is as simple as that.
We feel them metaphorically.
Or at the most, I listen to some podcast or put some past thing, and then I do this. The mundane. You have to live with the mundane, and then go to a higher level.
I'd like to draw your attention to one line which really caught me as well. When my family, that's one of the poems I read, the first smocked chemise. When my family indulged in clothes from the nunnery of Christ brides. That is such a beautifully.
The nuns
are married to,
yes,
they went to the Lord. Sorry, I'll just finish that. And then you said the white froth of the sea, the washed out hue of bright colors.
Yeah, we used to go to the sale in Pondicherry every year, and these nuns, they're all French sisters, I think. They're not there anymore in Cluny. Now it's all been replaced by Indian sisters. Every time I go to Pondicherry, I look out for this. And they used to have this sewing, embroidery designs, and we had, I think those smoked dresses are it was so beautiful that the comparison to nature comes automatically. And they had the small beads for eyes. The birds had beads for eyes. Everything is as it.
But is this the washed out hue of bright colors? Is that because of your
The
difficulty with vision?
Vision, yeah, it could be. And also the pastel colors, they didn't have bright colors. They had these light violet, light pink, all those frocks. So the pastel shade and the sea. In fact, the colors of the sea, the white and the froth of the sea, that was more woven into the
imagery is just amazing.
Imagery, okay. Now I notice it because you say it. It is because most of it is written actually as I remember it, with a little bit not to, I mean, what she says, that poi, to make it more.
Thank you. It's been delightful to hear your poetry and hear you talk about it. And thank you, Professor. Going forward, I just wondered if you would consider writing poetry that was not memoir-based or not kind of in some way very much based on your growing up years. Would you consider writing poetry on other subjects?
Yes, definitely. But the thing is, I am more prone to anecdotal poetry. And that anecdotal poetry now is gone out of fashion. I think nobody writes anecdotal poetry nowadays. But I would definitely like to revive it. revive it. I guest edited one narrow road journal for anecdotal poetry. It is these anecdotes which are, you just have to make it poetic, make it sound poetic. And some have a storyline, some are narrative, but there's a lot of poetry in it. If it is, you can write about write about social themes, and I think my forte is anecdotal poetry, which is quite old-fashioned nowadays. No?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, most of these American journals, they have a lot of anecdotal poetry, as you call it.
Okay.
They don't really call it anecdotal, but
Yeah.
poetry is mostly, and the most
Okay.
impactful poetry
Okay.
is anecdotal because it takes you deep into the poet's heart. And you've actually written an entire body of work, because I remember 10 years ago looking at 3 manuscripts by you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had.
In My Midriff. In My Midriff.
Yeah, I had about 150 poems, which I brought down to this size for the.
No, but that's nice. No, but, this fits into that theme. So I think she must have cherry-picked the ones that fit into the theme. So that's nice.
This is the extraordinary
Ones that
bring out.
have you read what
that
bring you up? I look at the ways I look at the Saligram. Yes. 10 ways I look at the Saligram. Yeah. The one she goes to bed with.
Yes.
That's like an fantastic poem actually.
I remember that.
You read it out at the British Council.
What I would say, Shiva, is that you have this massive body of work, which is much more than a lot of so-called celebrated young poets, young Turks in our country. And you are a chronicler of a time that may be past, but is still within us, and from which we can still learn a lot. You're a natural.
Thank you.
You are actually very radical in your youth. I don't know if you remember that cow dung poem. And youth times you published a poem, I think in your 70s. I made God out of cow dung. It's a very, very radical poem, I would think.
Make God out of bullshit.
That's the one. That's
Yeah.
the very one I'm talking about. Pretty radical, I would think. That wasn't anecdotal. It was
Yeah.
very, very radical. I still remember those lines.
Long back. And then Nakulan, he was T.K. Doraisamy. He smuggled this poem out of the university college and gave me extra marks. And he said, here's a South Indian writing like this. So he was really, he was my first mentor, I should say. Yeah. No. No, that about the Rajan case?
Yes, the Rajan case.
Yeah. How to make a corpse.
How to make a
Corpse, yeah.
She was writing very radical.
Yeah, I was writing. And that is Jairam Padikal, he was a DIG, and
That side.
yeah, that is. Yeah, I will answer that. I'll answer that. Jairam Padikal was president of the Rotary. My father was a secretary, and I wrote this poem because he was involved in this torture, this Rajan case torture. I wrote it on a best wishes card and put it into the bouquet of Mrs. Jairam Padikal and gave it to him. The next day, my father was very angry. He was so angry. He said, he wouldn't talk to me. He said, what have you done? But I don't know, these things, it just went on. And the case was that I wrote a poem, and we had these poster poems. Hriday Kumari censored the poem, and she said, no way is it going for the exhibition. So I stuck a newspaper over the poem, put a big cross with a red pen and wrote censored. That had the greatest number of, there was nothing, nobody could read anything out of it. But that one word censored, it drew the largest crowd. Those days after that, okay, after marriage, I think I mellowed down a lot. all that.
Shivakami, don't we all.
Mellow down, yeah.
Hiatus in your writing, and then you came back after a break.
Yeah, long
so
time.
That also could have, that's
Yeah.
when it's like wine. You
I didn't
matured
write.
like good wine, and you came back with different kind of poems.
Different kind of poems, yeah. I didn't
like
write.
Deeper and
I went into a Grihavas for 18 years. Yeah, Grihavas for 18 years. I came back.
So I think that journey also is reflected in the way your art also matured.
Okay. So I think
But
we
the
should.
Saligram was post, okay? So that's also a deadly poem that you wrote, right? Super. It's a pity I'm not able to quote that poem off, but it was quite a poem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question. So since we're using so much of, thank you, Poi and South India and all that, to me personally, I always, behind the English, I can hear a little bit of
Tamil.
Lata sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear a little bit of Tamil. I wanted to ask you what
Yeah.
the influence of that language or being in that milieu on the English.
Yeah. I remember Srilata's poem, this Arasamaram and all that, no? Such lovely. I think we should have an English which has these, which enables us to use our own language. We should form our own English which enables us to use as much as our own was. See, in that poem, Kiri, I said Kiri Pillai. So that is very, like, it is the way we speak. And, this is English. And talking of the Madurai people, I use the word sickle, and somebody pointed out, why don't you say Aruval? Then I said Aruval. That is more of that blood, potency and that blood coming in.
No, but she still calls a spade a spade. Even to this day. Even though she may have mellowed that, but she still calls a spade a spade. And that is why I am an ardent admirer of her.
No, we had these British Council poetry circles, and Dr. Panika has edited many of my poems, the grammar, and my father used to say her spelling is atrocious. Maybe that is why she's able to write good poetry. So I think we have come to the end of the program.
There was one more question. That will be the last question.
Was it? Okay.
I want to know whether you are inspired by other poets and develop your poems.
Definitely, sir. We are.
In what way? Right? In India we have Aurobindo and so many Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, and many poets are there in India. Foreign also, many poets. I want to know who are your favorite poets and how you develop your writing on the basis of those poems. In what way those poems helped you to write better poems?
There are many poets who are writing. The younger ones are writing well. So we have to keep in touch with the latest poetry that is being written now, the present day, and also look at the past poets, as you said, like Aurobindo and all. And we have to look at different kinds of poetry: continental poetry, contemporary continental poetry, Indian poetry, poetry in translation. There's so much. It's not just that you read some Aurobindo and Tagore. So much has happened after that. So we should be in touch and keep on reading. Read anything you want. Come across. Some of these journals also have poems nowadays. Outlook has poems. Go on reading what is modern and keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Prabakar. Thank you all for being. Please continue the conversation. conversation
Can I
after.
take 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Please come.
Thank you, Mr. Ranveer,
No, thank you. Not at all. Thank you for a lovely evening of sharing.
We means many of us sitting here had a very good rapport with Sivakami for over 2 decades.
2 decades.
I think I first met her in 2004 in a meeting arranged by
The Chennai Poets
Circle. And we had a great interaction in Chennai Poets Circle, afterwards in Soul Flash, and everywhere she was a binding force among many of us poets writing poetry at that time. Two poems for a change, which I would like to read to you. Not her poems, but her poems translated into Malayalam. I hope you will not mind. And both of them are actually from her old style of writing. You were talking about it, that is how to, what is that? One poem is, in English it was published in My Midriff under the title She. I thought it was a very powerful poem, and that has been, it's a very short poem. I translated that, and it was published almost 10 or 12 years back. Stree. അവൾ കേവലം 3 രൂപയ്ക്ക് നായർ ടീ ഷോപ്പിൽ വിൽക്കുന്ന ഒരു കപ്പ് ചായ മാത്രം. I think you understand. If not complete, at least 90% of the sense you understand. അവൾ കേവലം 3 രൂപയ്ക്ക് നായർ ടീ ഷോപ്പിൽ വിൽക്കുന്ന ഒരു കപ്പ് ചായ മാത്രം. ആവി പൊങ്ങും ചൂടുണ്ട് മധുരവും. അവൾ പ്രദർശനശാലയിലെ മണ്ണു ബൊമ്മയാണ്. നിങ്ങളോടും തലയാട്ടി പുഞ്ചിരിക്കുന്ന നവരാത്രി ബൊമ്മ. അവൾ പ്രദർശനശാലയിലെ മണ്ണു ബൊമ്മയാണ്. നിങ്ങളോടും തലയാട്ടി പുഞ്ചിരിക്കുന്ന നവരാത്രി ബൊമ്മ. അവൾ ഒരു ചുഴലിയാണ്. അവൾ ഒരു ചുഴലിയാണ്. നിങ്ങളുടെ മുഖത്തിന് എതിരെയും കുറുക്കെയും പറക്കുന്ന ചുഴലി. അവൾ ഒരു ചുഴലിയാണ്. നിങ്ങളുടെ മുഖത്തിന് എതിരെയും കുറുക്കെയും പറക്കുന്ന ചുഴലി. പക്ഷേ എപ്പോഴും നിങ്ങളുടെ ചുണ്ടുകളിൽ അവൾ തിരികെ എത്തും. പക്ഷേ എപ്പോഴും നിങ്ങളുടെ ചുണ്ടുകളിൽ അവൾ തിരികെ എത്തും.
Very nice translation, sir.
One more small poem I will translation, which was referred just a few minutes back by all of you. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. This is what you are referring to with the police inspector and all that. Cheidu padikku. Instead of do it yourself, it has become learned by doing it. 5 അടി 4 ഇഞ്ച് ഉയരമുള്ള ഒരു വിദ്യാർത്ഥിയെ തിരഞ്ഞെടുത്ത് നീരട്ടകൾ നിറഞ്ഞ ഒരു മുറിയിൽ നിലത്തേക്ക് തള്ളിയിടൂ. അവന്റെ മുഖത്തും ചുണ്ടുകളിലും പല്ലുകുത്തികൾ കുത്തിയിറക്കണം. ആനവാല് ചെവിയിലും നാഭിയിൽ ഇടിക്കട്ടയും. പിന്നീട് ടിഷ്യൂ പേപ്പറിൽ അവന്റെ മുഖത്തും ചുണ്ടുകളിലും പല്ലുകുത്തികൾ കുത്തിയിറക്കണം. ആനവാല് ചെവിയിലും നാഭിയിൽ ഇടിക്കട്ടയും. തൊലിയുടെ ചുളിവുകൾ മാറ്റാൻ ഇരുമ്പ് ഉരുട്ടിയും. പിന്നീട് ടിഷ്യൂ പേപ്പറിൽ നന്നായി പൊതിയണം. റാക്കിറ്റാവണം. നിങ്ങൾക്കും പ്രയാസമെന്നിയെ ഒരു ശവം ഉണ്ടാക്കാം.
Thank you. Your translation is beautiful, sir.
Thank you.
attending a few words with you. I want to share with you a few words about the early days and about the family also. Because I am Sivakami's uncle, and her mother is my sister. And I know her early days and all the family history also. Because the family is really from a tiny village, Vayavya district. It's a very tiny village, and it's more underdeveloped in those days. I'm talking about more than 19 years back. My father brought her, her grandfather to Europe and established a business to the family. And her father studied in my house. That is, in those days, we can't imagine that a student from the village studying in a town is a very unusual thing. But her father studied in our town, and he wrote this SSLC exam and got his admission at President's College, Madras. And he finished BA. And after that, he went abroad to US. You can't imagine in those days.
Stanford.
Stanford, California. He studied MBA. He was the first man to do MBA in those days, in the year of 1948. I remember it very well.
He used to study under the street lamp.
He came from the small village. Actually, such a job is very difficult. But for Sivakami, I want to say a few words now. Her childhood days were very pathetic, full of passion, full of agony. You can't imagine. Yes, I could not say even. Yes, it's so pathetic. She got cataract even before she was born, she got a cataract. And in spite of all these difficulties, her contribution towards the English literature is marvelous.
It is because of that, I think.
She's made her life poetic.
Yes.
When it's a little pathos and then it's enjoyable.
When I got married, so I asked my husband, I wish we have some poverty or something. That very poetry. So I was like that. And whenever he went abroad, I didn't ask for jewels or I asked for a Charles Bukowski or something, and he would bring me some poetry book from abroad. So it was always like that.
When she was born, and nobody, prepared to take care of her because her mother was mentally ill. She was very pathetic. And in spite of all the difficulties, she remains like, like a poet, a great poet, and her contribution is marvelous.
Thank you, Mama. If I had gone to school like LKG, UKG, and all that, all these things would not have been there.
Like Einstein. After 12 years only, many great people came out after 12 years of their life. They never went to school. Scientists and all that.
So we had a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.